Hello, everybody. Okay, today we continue to energy chapter. But before starting the new topic, let me a little bit talk about the solutions of the midterm. I will not solve explicitly the questions, but I will give you the idea, and I think you complete the rest. Let me start with the balloon question. What is there going to be makeup exam for midterm 1? If you miss the midterm for a medical excuse, you can take the makeup. But if you took the midterm exam and if you want to change the grade, it is not possible to take the makeup exam. Okay, now let us start to talk about the questions. Let me start with the balloon question. Here, let's say this is the balloon, okay? And it is moving with some velocity v, 10 meters per second. And when it reaches 50 meters, a stone is thrown. So what is the y component of the velocity? Times sine 37 plus this one, 10. So Vy is 25 meters per second. Most of our friends didn't add this one, and obviously everything is wrong. And what is the time to return 50 meters? So it goes up and returns there. Y minus y0, v0 yt minus 1/2 gt square. Some of our friends put a plus. It is not correct. Y minus y0 is, since it is returning the throwing point, it is 0, and when you try to solve it, t is around 5 seconds, 5.1 seconds. Okay, so when you calculate this one properly, v is just vx times t. Okay. When the object hits the ground, now how can you find this time? Let's say you throw the ball or stone and it reaches its highest point. Then from there, it makes a free fall. Okay, you can calculate this time And also you can find the time to reach the maximum point and add them. So let's say T1, T2. So it is T1 plus T2. Okay. Some of our friends thought that it makes a free fall from 50 meter, but it is not correct, because remember that when it reaches its highest point, it makes free fall that from that highest point. So what should you do? First of all, find the position that the ball reached the highest point and calculate when the ball reached that point. Then calculate the time for free fall. T1, it is in fact very easy. If you find this T, half of this one is T1. It is around 2.5. Okay, and within 2.5 seconds, it goes out around 31 meter. So the highest point is just 50 plus 31 is 81 meter. So from 81 meter, it makes free fall. And the time to reach the ground is 4.1 seconds. And we have 2.5 to reach the maximum. So it is around, let's say, 6.6 seconds. And what about the velocity? Obviously, it has x component and y component. X component is constant. It is 25 times cosine 37. And what about the y component? It is just minus g times t. And t is time flight time. When you use that one, you can find the value for Vy, then you find the velocity vector. Since it is a velocity is a vector, obviously you need to express the result as vector. And some of our friends didn't put the x component, they just calculate the y component. Obviously, it's not correct. And also, when it reaches the ground, where is the horizontal distance? It is just total flight time here, so you just multiply time by Vx. What about the, let's say, satellite question? In fact, there is no trick in the satellite question. It is very straightforward, and most of you did well. The relationship, maybe you can derive it, or V1 squared R1 equals to V2 squared R2. Okay, from there, you can calculate V2 as meter per second, or 4.6 times 10 to 3 meter per second. The trick is, in fact, okay, I forgot to write it. Radius of planet is given, and the satellite is just above of the planet. So what is it? It is just RS1. So it is what, 8 million meter. So for S1, it is 8 times 10 to 6 plus 2 times 10 to 6. So it is 10 times 10 to 6. Some of our friends use that value. Obviously, it is wrong. So the result, everything is wrong. Accelerations, as I told you before, almost all of you did well if you find V2 correctly. But part C, almost all of you misunderstood. The question is about the gravitational force between two satellites, S1 and S2. Okay, not with the planet. So what is the distance between the satellites? It is just, you can calculate, I don't remember the value, 1.5 times 10 to 6 meter. And also, some of you wrote the wrong formula. It is r square, not r. We talk about the force. We don't talk about the potential. Okay. So M1 is given, M2 is given, F is given, R is given. So you just put the value to the formula. Anyway, what about the other question? What is next in my manual? It is pulley question. M2, M1. Now, first, they move together in the beginning, right? So it means that you should express the common acceleration almost all of you forget to write the M2G. I don't know why. So this goes up, so acceleration is directed downward. This goes down, acceleration is directed to downward. So what is the Newton's second law? T minus m1 g equals to minus m1a. Some of you forgets the minus sign. And T minus m2g equals to m2a. Okay, when you arrange and solve the acceleration, it is m1 minus m2, m1 plus m2 times g, and it is roughly speaking 4.2 meter per second. Then, when this goes 3 meter up, at some certain height, the rope is broken. So what happens? It has some velocity v, and it continues to go up at some point. At that point, its velocity is 0. Then, again, the same idea with the balloon. It makes free fall. So, what is the total time after the rope is broken? First, you need to find the time to reach the maximum point. Then, you need to find the time for free fall. Obviously, first of all, you need to find the velocity at that point, which is v squared equals to v0 square plus 2a delta y. A is 4.2 meter and delta y is 3. In the beginning, v0 is 0. You calculate the v. Okay. Then, when it stops, it has what? Minus g times t. So you can find t to reach the maximum point. Okay, when you reach the maximum point, you go upward and it reaches some height. You can calculate this height. Then you can find the time for free fall. And when you add this T1 and T2, you can get the result as 1.44 seconds. So if you don't use this acceleration, you cannot get exact result. So what is the velocity when the block hits the ground? It is just, again, v equals to minus g times t. You know the flight time, and you can calculate the velocity. And what is the velocity of the block A? Just before the rope broken, it has some velocity v, right? And when it hits the ground, it has some velocity v prime. First of all, you need to calculate v. It moves some acceleration. Okay. So you can calculate the velocity v. Then from here, you can calculate the velocity with gravitational acceleration. So that's the idea for the solution. Almost most of you didn't realize the motion with this acceleration and use the gravitational acceleration, but you see that the motion has two parts, before the broken rope and after the broken rope. Before the broken rope, we have some acceleration, and after the rope is broken, we have another acceleration. And what about the other question, which is vector calculus? Well, for the vector calculus, I think you have a source, and this clever guy distribute the solution, all of you. Don't trust him. If you pay for the solution, ask your money back. Okay. Because the guy didn't know anything. First of all, the key point, let me explain one more time. If you have the vector product, the result is another vector. If you have a scalar product, the result is number. So in A, the result must be number, but all of you, almost all of you, wrote another vector. So it's completely wrong. And also, let's say AI, Bj, and B vector is, let's say, Ci, Dj. When you perform the multiplication, you do not perform A times Ci hat. This is wrong. Okay. So the clever guy makes this multiplication. And in fact, I want to thank with him, because the results will be very easy to read for me. Okay, I think you understand the idea, and I skipped the different part of the question, finding the angle between the vectors. Cosine theta equal to the scalar product of the vectors divided by the magnitude of the vectors. Okay. Well, it seems correct, but the question is finding the angle, not the cosine theta. The clever guy found that it is 0.93. Okay, but what about theta? There is no theta. But the question asks the angle between the vectors. So the only true is just addition. And I want to thank with his primary school teacher. Okay. Now, what about the ball? You know that a ball is throwing. This is another question. Again, 37 degree. Well, in the question, it is x equals to 1.5y. So what is x? It is just v0 cosine theta t equals to 1.5 times y. What is y? It is v0 sine theta t minus 1/2 gt square. Okay, you find the solution for t. Some of you didn't understand and they tried to find x equals to 1.5 meter. It is not 1.5 meter. So since the question is solved for 1.5 meter, obviously everything is wrong. Anyway, for this one, t is 0.34 seconds. And if you, when you find the t is correctly, you can find vy. Remember, it is v0y minus g times t. You put t here. And vx is constant in projectile motion. It is 20 meters per second. When its highest point, calculate the ratio y over x. At the highest point, remember that it is v equals to v0y minus gt, and this one must be 0. So you can find a t, and at that time you can calculate y and x, and then you find the ratio. And the last part, d, it is simple. At least you can do this. But some of our friends didn't read the solution sheet, I think, because some of you wrote sine square theta. It is not sine square theta, sine 2 theta. Okay. So R is around 60, 61, 62. Anyway. So what about the block question? Now, the force F is acting on the small block B. Okay. So for small block B, the F is directed to right. mBg, okay, normal force, and obviously there is a friction, F. Okay. Some of you didn't draw this one, or some of you didn't draw these forces. What about the A? Now, there is a friction between block B and A, and if the friction for block B is directed to left, according to Newton's third law, the force is small f is directed to left, right for block A. And there is another friction between A and the surface. Since this F is directed to right, obviously the friction, the second friction, let's say FA, is directed to left. And obviously MA plus MBG and normal force. Okay. So when you apply Newton's second law for block B, Fs equals to MBA. So when you use everything that is given in the question, 0.6, okay, equals to 5 times acceleration. From here, you can find the acceleration as 14.2 meter per second. It's around 14. Maybe you can take G as 10, or you can some other rounding off, etc. What about the block A? This F, what is this F? It is just this one, right? So it is just 20.4. And what about this F? This is friction. 25 times 9.8 times 0.8. And you see that this force is greater than that force. But static friction, the maximum value of the static friction is this one. You cannot use this one as a actual force. Okay. So when you apply the 30 Newton, the value of the static friction may have 30 value. When you reach this value, then you beat the static friction. Okay. So you cannot use this force to accelerate the object. Otherwise, look around. Your desk is stationary. If this force is acting always, everything is moving. Okay? Think about it a little bit, please. So the result is 0. The block A does not move. Okay, now another question, rocket question. We have a rocket. Okay. It goes with some velocity and acceleration. And when it reaches to some height, 100, 1000 and 200 meter, it's broken. Its engines stop. Okay. Now, the first part, what is the flight time of the rocket, right? When it hits the ground. Now, think a little bit. All of you, almost all of you, I think, use the car. Almost all of you use car. And you learn that when the car is moving, when you stop the engine, it continues to move, right? So the same thing is hold for the rockets. When this rocket reaches that point, it continues to go up. It doesn't stop there. Why? Because it has some velocity already. So, first of all, you need to calculate the time to reach that height. Okay. Then the rocket reaches some highest point. When the rocket reaches the point, you must find it. Let's say T prime. Then it makes a free fall. And the time for the free fall is T double. So time for flight is what? T plus T prime plus T double. Obviously, to find the T double prime, you need to find the maximum height. Okay. I think you understand the mistake and you can continue the steps. So the flight time is around 46 seconds. And what is the velocity when it hits the ground? V square equals to V0 square plus minus 2G capital H. Capital H is around 2.3 kilometer. G is gravitational acceleration. So you can find the velocity as minus meter per second. Okay. So all questions are solved. I think you understand the idea. So please trust yourself and solve yourself the questions. And please think a little bit. This is not a so different question. It is just a fact. The rocket doesn't stop that point. Okay. So let us start today's topic. Where is the file? I solved them already. Why didn't you listen to me? It is recording. Try to solve the questions and get some help from the record. Okay, you can do it. Please trust yourself. Try it. Okay, now today we talk about potential energy and energy conservation. One minor thing. Some of our friends try to solve the pulley question by using the energy, but you see that we didn't learn the energy chapter. That's why they didn't get any credit. Okay, here today we learn gravitational potential. So that's why we talk about the potential energy. I skipped that one. So you already know this one. The gravitational energy, if you have some height from the ground, the potential energy, the gravitational potential energy is written as mg times y. And the change in the gravitational potential energy is related with the work done by the gravity. Okay. So what is it? Let's say, yes, Abdullah.
Yes, hi, sir. Sir, I just want to ask if you just could answer the questions of the midterm and upload it, or just explain it in the lecture, because most of the students, me too, don't even know how to answer most of the questions that they're not related to the examples that are in the slides. So we don't really have the knowledge and the idea.
Why don't you have the knowledge? Why
What?
don't you have the knowledge? I don't understand.
I don't. Every
Why
question,
don't you have the knowledge?
every question has a thought in it. You have to think about it, how to solve it. We didn't get it. We didn't get it. Okay. Maybe we are dumb. I don't know. So please, can you just solve it in the lecture, or just upload the solutions? Should be okay. Math professor just uploaded the answers of the questions right away of the exam, even before the result came out. It will be nice for me to do it.
Okay, why don't you try to solve them by yourself? Why do you need the solutions? Because I gave the idea and it is recording. If you have some difficulties, you can watch it again.
I tried. I tried your lecture.
You try at least one time you try it, because you see that you
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
the questions may be tricky, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
will realize
That's
that you can
yeah,
solve
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Sorry, let me turn off the window. There is a
Okay,
noise.
okay,
Okay, okay, let us talk.
okay. As you see in the chat, like most of the students agrees with me. Most of them got even less than 20. Most of the students got less than 20. What 20? 20.
Okay, because
And
most of students didn't think about the questions. As I told you before, let think about the vector question. All the solutions are the same because you have one source. At least some of the students have one source, and they just copy and paste it. They didn't think about. If one person
mm,
thinks wrong, all of you did wrong. Okay, this is my responsibility to think about the physics.
I
So
know.
if I
I
give you the solutions, you just read the solutions and again memorize the solutions. I don't want that.
But
Okay.
at least we will
Think
get.
about
I
the solutions,
think about
and
the.
I don't believe now. Trust me, I think about the solutions when you give me the solutions, because it's obvious. All the wrong questions are in the exam papers.
I get it, I get it. But the problem is that we didn't even get the idea. I mean, every question is tricky. It's not tricky, but you need to, how do you call it? Uh, Attach the pieces. Okay, you have to attach the pieces so you can just answer it. I mean, most of the questions are like this, and the pieces are different from what we have in most of the examples in the slides.
Mhm.
Yeah, so please can you just answer it or upload an answer of it? You hear me?
Okay, I will upload in some time, because the midterm topics are not included to final exam. So until the end of the semester, I will upload them.
I know,
Okay.
but they are all but they are all about Newton, all about vectors, all about one and two dimensions. Isn't that right? Is it?
For the
Aren't they?
midterm.
No, no, yeah, yeah. For the midterm, they are all about vectors. They are all about one and two dimensions. Newton laws. Aren't they gonna affect the answers? Aren't they related to the answers for the energy questions? I mean, you have to get what you had before so you can pass more. You know, go ahead.
Well, I didn't prepare the final exam questions, so I cannot the difficulty of the final exam. Maybe it will not be so tricky for the Newton exam. Newton part.
تمام sir. Thank you, thank you. إن شاء الله خير. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. If okay, people, if you don't have enough motivation to concentrate on the subject, we can uh, stop, and next week we start the topic. We learn the topic. Okay, if you don't have enough motivation about the lecture, we can stop it, because about 45 minutes we talk about the exam, and the chat screen continues to send messages about the exam. So tell me, if you don't have any motivation for today, we can quit the today's topic. Okay, ask about it. Okay, I'm continuing to today's topic. Okay, in the grading policy, writing the formula is irrelevant. Okay, for example, history student can memorize the formulas and write them. Okay, but the history student doesn't know how to apply them. Okay, let me answer the questions one by one. So the makeup rules are clear. It does not depend on my choice. It is just decision of the higher education council, etc. Anyway, so if you take the exam, you cannot take the makeup. And you had extra times. Some of our friends sent me an email, and I opened the system for 2 times for 10 minutes. So it means that it makes 20 minutes. So maybe you should enter the system, enter the class, online class. Because from the chat screen, the students ask about extra time, and I gave the extra time. Again, as I told you before, just writing the formulas are irrelevant. Anyone can write the formula. The important thing is that how to use the formulas. Okay, maybe the mistake is small for you, but it is not small for me. Most of you think that the rocket is stopped at that point. How it's possible? Is it small mistake? It is just an example. I'm not a math professor. We are individuals. But what did you write before? I don't know. Change to a makeup. So questions were not obvious. Why didn't you ask me about the questions during the exam? If you have the points that you don't understand, I'm online. I'm waiting for your questions on the screen. So I don't understand the relevance with time. Okay, maybe you don't know. Okay, we just take the average of the class, and the grading, the passing grade determined by the average of the class. So it doesn't mean that when you get lower grade, you fail. It depends on the average of the class. So you can pass with average, let's say, for example, 25. Well, I don't know the highest grade. When you say extra work, I remember that I upload the homework to the system. Don't forget to solve it. Okay. So it will be available after 3 p.m. after this lecture. The new homework will be available. Don't forget to solve it. Well, what is the age grade? Okay, I answered it. Can you give us extra work or something to gain marks? Okay, I gave the homework, so you can do it. Can I send you email about my vector answer? Well, you can send me. I can check your new answer, but obviously I will not count it as a midterm. Okay, for the extra work, again, maybe I increase the number of homeworks. Yes, of course, you can increase your marks, your overall grade, average, because we have 2 more labs and we have some homeworks. So it means that you can increase your marks. Yes, if the class got high marks, everyone mark will be high. Yes. I gave an example about previous year's results. The average of the class was around 65 for another course, and obviously around 60 was failed because the average is 65. So that's why the passing grade is related with the average. If average is high, the passing grade is high. If average is low, the passing grade is low. So what I mean that don't say that when you took lower grade, you will fail. Obviously, your average is below the average of class. Obviously, you will fail, but again, the passing grade is related with the average of the class, and in this case, all of the class get bad results. No, we don't have 2 midterms, 1 midterm and 1 final exam. And the final exam topic will be after the midterm exam. So it will start with the energy topic. And most of the weight is in the final. You know that it is 40%. So the weight of the final is just 20%. It is the least percentage along the activities. Okay. Well, if you have medical excuse, you should fill the makeup exam form, and you should attach the medical report and send them to the dean's office. The form and the necessary information is on the website, I think. Habib, I don't know your name, I think. Habib. I'm searching your mail. Well, let me go one by one. Eric, for the late submissions, the students office didn't give us the information who is regular, who is late, etc. When you start the semester, you should send an email about this special condition. So when you send me the registration information, I check the activities, etc. Habib, I couldn't find the files on this device. Maybe it is on my computer, I don't know. Let me check your result on the system. Okay, you didn't send me the file. Maybe your mail didn't reach me because when I check the system, in the comments, the file, the solutions are not there. So it means that you didn't send me the mail, or the mail didn't reach me. Okay, resend it one more time because it is not in my mailbox. I didn't erase the mails. Let me check. Okay, Ahmad, I sent you an email that your files didn't open. I think you didn't see my mail. The files are blocked by my mail server. Please send them as a single file attachment. So I wrote this one, and there is no other mail. Okay. No, there is no other file. There is no other mail, Ahmad.